Good evening, everyone, and welcome
Good
to
evening.
another session of the Sugar Capital webinar. Um, so basically, the Sugar Capital webinar it's an avenue where individuals created by Sugar Capital for us to have conversation around everything that has to do with both business finance, personal finance, and how we can grow wealth as a community. For today's webinar, we are taking a different strategy. We won't be doing the regular, when we're doing the regular slide presentations, and then we decided to do a live Q&A session, so we could have conversations, right? We could hear from the audience. People can ask questions that has been on their mind, and then we could also learn from other people's experience. So on our panel today, we have two amazing individuals who have been speakers here on our webinar. And first, we have Mr. Silas, who is the CEO and founder of Sugar Capital. And then, secondly, we have Miss Adaku, the COO and co-founder of Sugar Capital. We like to call her the boss lady. First things first, we're going to dive right in because we don't have time. So let's just go into it. I will start off with some round of questions and then give our audiences who are live an opportunity to ask questions. So, Mr. Silas, I think I'll be throwing my first question to you. Being that you are a founder, so I feel you can relate well with this question. So, as a founder of a startup, what are some challenges that you have faced, or you believe that startup face in terms of managing their business finance? And then also, you could also give us some ways on how they could mitigate such scenarios or such circumstances.
Okay, thank you very much, Sam, for that question. Uh, as a founder, it's in fact accessing finance or managing finance was one of the reasons why we founded Super Capital. And for those that don't know the story, I couldn't access finance for a project for a previous company I had, and that's what led to the idea of Super Capital. And that leads nicely to how do you then manage finances when you get them or when you are raising them or your personal finance in the early days as a founder. Is basically being able to keep your books, keep your record, and then be able to differentiate what is your personal, what funds your personal living expenses versus what is your business income. So if you haven't raised any form of capital from external investors, for instance, and you are still funding the business out of your pockets, what percentage of your income goes into the business to fund the business? That has to be determined, and all of this is because it's based on the fact that you have kept your books, you know what comes to you, you know what would finance your living expenses. You then know what is left to fund and finance the business. Or on the other hand, you can do on a percentage basis. I've thought about the 70 2010 strategy on here before in one of the webinars, or 70-30 strategy, depending on how you want to put it, right? If you determine that 20% of your income is going to go into building your business, so what then happens is immediately you make an income, or you have an income at the end of the month, at the end of the week, as the case may be, you take 20% of that and transfer that into the business account, and you operate the business from the business account. I am assuming that if you are a founder, if you have a business at this point in time, and you should be able to separate your business entity from yourself. That means have a corporate bank account so that you're able to differentiate your personal income that you work hard and sell your time to make from your business income, which you are contributing from your personal income. So to just put this in practice, I am a teacher, which I was, making about, let's say, 15,000, which I was as well. 20% of that goes into the business account. So because at the time I used to run a company called Campus TV NG, it's a digital media company, and it had its own account. So I would take 20% of what I earn as a teacher, 15,000, and then put it into that account. And that's how I was able to fund the business gradually from where I was. So caveat here is that 20% of 15,000 meant a bit of money at the time. I'm talking 2010, 2011, 2018. So it meant something at the time, not now, right? So
Yeah.
that way you're able to separate what you make from your own income from what the business make. That way you're able to keep your books and manage both sides. I hope this helps.
Yeah, okay. So I like that you pointed out the aspect of keeping both books separate. So I was recently having a conversation with someone, and then he brought up this scenario where a startup raised, I think, $100,000, and after a short period of time, they had blown through the money, and the business had to close down.
Yeah,
And I
that
believe
happens.
this is one of the challenges that a lot of persons, in fact, if we want to go into the whole conversation of startup and raising finance, and how startups are closing down, that's like a whole other another conversation. But in just like
Yeah.
a few seconds, if you could just tell us, how have you as a founder been able to keep the ball rolling for this long, in
Mm.
respect to raising capital, um, running operational costs,
Yeah.
satisfying your customers, and all that has to do within the sphere of running a startup? How have you been able to keep the ball rolling?
It's two things. Number one, discipline. Number two, transparency. Those two things would help anybody building a business keep the ball rolling as we go. Yes, we've seen the news. I don't want to start naming names, but we've seen the news a lot where people raise a lot of money. They start a business, fantastic idea. They're solving a problem. They raise a lot of money, $100,000, $200,000, some up to $500,000, and then next thing you know, the founder and the CEO is no longer flying economy. They're flying business. They are no longer driving the regular car. They are driving a cyber truck. They are flying to different countries. I'm not against all of that, to be fair, right? I'm not against living your life. But live your life within your means. The fact that you've raised 100,000 doesn't mean you should automatically start paying yourself a $50,000 salary to start with. So I think it is discipline, first of all, as the founder and whoever is involved in the business. And the second thing is the transparency in terms of having an oversight. So one of the things we do at Super Capital is, if it is a management issue, I do not make a decision without letting the other executives know, right? We
Mhm.
have regular executive meetings where I give an update on this is what the fact that I'm the founder doesn't mean I don't answer to people,
Yeah.
right? So I answer to the other executives on the executive team at management meetings. And sometimes I get questioned
Yeah.
about why is this like this, why is this like that, and things like that. And then there are decisions I don't even get to make. They get to make it and just give feedback, give an update. For instance, I'm a product manager by training and by profession, right?
Okay.
But since 2023 till now, I don't remember making a major product decision since Adaku stepped in and became the product and operations chief.
Mhm.
So that is the discipline of recusing myself from, even though I am a trained product manager, doesn't mean I should start micromanaging and wanting
Yeah.
to overstep my boundary. I just turn around and focus on strategy and finance, which is where I am now focused on, right?
Okay.
Uyime handles all the things around people management and everything around business growth and things like that. I'm a business developer as well. In that scale, I no longer operationally make decisions and things like that. I just give advisory and give suggestion and get updates. Now, as a founder or any business owner for that matter, delegating these roles and moving away to focus on where your strength is, as well as keeping that line of transparency open where you are able to get questioned by your colleagues and give clear answers. That's one of the things that help you keep that discipline. That's on the horizontal level. On the vertical level is having a business advisor that is on the board that then go ahead to question yourself and everybody on the management team so that everyone is accountable and transparent with what they are doing. I hope I've been able to answer that question in
Yeah,
depth.
like you you answered the question. I was able to pick out some things. So I feel, in a nutshell, when you were speaking, the one thing I was able to what just came to my mind was, as startup founders, when you raise money, you are not raising that money for yourself. That money was raised
No,
for the business.
for the
So
business,
every
yes.
expenses that should be made for the business, not yourself.
Yes.
So I think that was where you made the example of founders no longer flying economy, now flying business class, first class, because they've raised $100,000, $500,000. So founders should have that mindset that the money that has been raised is not for you but for the business. It doesn't mean your life should change. Is the business, as the business grows, then let it be that the growth of the business is now reflecting in your own self, not the other way around. You are raising money from using the business to raise money and then implement. Your life is now changing. All right, so I would love to bring up the second panelist we have, in person of Miss Adako, to answer a couple of questions. And then for Adako, I think on your own aspect, I think Mr. Silas, we focused more on business finance. And for Miss Adako, I think let's move over to personal finance, because one of the things we prioritize in Supercap, don't just look at also the business, also look at what personal, because not everybody runs a business. We have 9 to 5 workers, and they also need to learn how to manage their finance. So, Adako, I would like to find out from you, why do you think individuals should prioritize personal finance? Why is it important for a regular 9 to 5? Why should he look critically at his own finance, track expenses, track income, and or whatnot, as everything that has to do with personal finance?
Thank you very much for that question. As a 9 to 5, it is not negotiable to pay attention to your finance. We have seen cases of people who work for all their lives, they have nothing to show for that. And one of the reasons why so many people are anxious when it comes to money is not because they don't, because blind. When I say blind, I don't mean literally you cannot see, but figuratively you cannot see. You don't know what's happening with your money. So if I asked you as a 9 to 5, what exactly did you achieve with your, this is March, right? With
Yeah.
your February salary, what exactly did June salary solve for you? What did February salary solve for you? Some people are unable to tell that. And there is a saying that if you do not know where your last dollar, but because we are in Nigeria now, I would say naira went, or your last cent, your last kobo went, you cannot tell where the next naira or next dollar is going to come from. So it is very, very important that you have clear insight into your money. Where is my money going to? Where is my money coming from? Some people don't know how much they spend in a month. And that's one of the reasons why they are always anxious when they have things to plan. And don't get me started with the people that keep God forbidding and God will provide. Yes, God will provide, but between the time that God will do it and God has done it, you are going to be living on a very thin line, and that line is mostly worry. So you are not stable, and if you are not mentally stable, you cannot make correct decisions. So there are a myriad of reasons why you, as a 9 to 5er, you need to have clear insight into your money. Where is it coming from? Where is it going to? What exactly is this money solving for me? What exactly am I solving in 3 months? You want to take away worry. Knowing clearly where your money goes to helps you to deal with financial anxiety. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, that's answered. So, while I still have you up, I think Mr. Salas mentioned you came on board of Super Capital as a product manager, right? So you have been the one spearheading the product development of the Super Capital app. So I want to find out, right? As a product manager of the Super Capital app, how how do you think digital finance can make or break a business or someone's personal finance? So, being that you have been building, I think you've gotten customer feedback. We've been iterating on the products that Super Capital is building. So, how do you think digital finance can make or break can make or break either someone's personal finance or a business finance?
Great. So, digital finance, while it has done a lot of good, most people are yet to properly optimize this particular tool that we call digital finance. So with digital finance, it can make your personal finance or your business finance, because you are able to make plans, right? You have features within the product. We can track your goals. This is how much I want to save. This is where I want it to be. This is how much I will commit every month, right? That is only achievable using digital finance. If you use the Super Capital product on any of your cards that you create, any of your saving goals that you create, you can literally see how far you are from your set goals. But if you use a traditional bank, right, for any of your saving purposes, apart from the fact that you cannot name them, you cannot exactly tell how far away you are from your goals. That's one. Now, digital finance can break your personal finance or business finance because of how easy it is to make payments, how easy tap and send it is to take loans. So you don't need a loan for your business, but just because you are stressed and you are anxious, you pick up your phone and you immediately tap and access a loan. Now, without reading the terms of the loans, because most of these loans are double-digit loans, without reading the terms of the loans, you take a loan and then you are struggling for a very long time to be able to offset that loan. That will also set you back by a couple of milestones in your personal finance, the things that you want to achieve. So because it has become very easy to tap and send, tap and borrow, that can break your finance. Another thing with digital finance that can easily break your finance, whether as a business or as a person, is the recurring payment. Now, this recurring payment can either be useful to you or it can break your personal finance. Recurring payment it makes your personal finance if it is a recurring savings that you are making through your imputed card. But when it becomes recurring debits, recurring credits, your money is being pulled from your account on at a certain time, and because you don't review your finance, you will not remember that, I have imputed my card somewhere, I no longer need this service, or I'm trying to repurpose my finance. You will not be able to tell until you have lost a huge chunk of your money, right? And that money that you are losing, many of us don't realize that it is time. Like I tell people, I know how much an hour of my time is worth. That's so much money that you are losing is actually time. It is your life as well that you are losing a portion of it, right? So because it is easy to set up recurring payments, you can lose a chunk of your money for some of those recurring payments, and you will not even use those services, because how many of these services can you actually use? So I do hope that with these few points, I've been able to help you understand how digital finance can serve you and how it can also be a disservice.
All right, thank you so much for that. I think, Madam, did you do debates in secondary school?
No, I didn't. Oh.
Like now, your closing arguments. Actually, with these few points of mine, I hope I've been able to convince you and not confuse you that dot 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 dot. So at this point, we are going to wrap things up. So if you have any question, you can just easily raise up your hand and I call you up to ask. If you don't want to speak, you can drop your question in the chat box and then I'll read it out and then our panelists can attend to your question. So Adaku, I like that when you were speaking about digital finance, you cover all spheres of digital finance, where there's the savings part and then there's this the payment aspect, because a lot of persons, once you hear digital finance, the first thing that comes to their mind is transactions. So sometimes, even personally, I've had to educate people that digital finance is not just those apps that make transactions. They're anything that has to do with money in the cyberspace. So thank you very much for that. Mr. Silas, I think I have one more question for you. And this particular question, this why it touched me personally. With the recent updates that happened, I know we all can relate with the whole fuel hike in fuel price in Nigeria and all that. For me now personally, I think my doing my analysis, my transport has gone up. My weekly transport has gone up by 50%. Even stocking up the house, I think that one went up about 30%. So as an individual, I don't want to start giving the whole statistics before I open all my money expense on the internet, but I'm just using that as example. So when we have situations like this, how do individuals navigate such unexpected factor change that influences our finances?
So unfortunately, there's nothing you can do. You can only control the things you can control. It's a global problem.
Right.
It's not just a Nigerian problem. I want to correct that impression, right?
Oh, wow.
Global problem, right? The cost of things have gone up in the US. The cost of things have gone up in Australia. The cost of things have gone up across Europe and in the UK, other parts of Africa, because the geopolitical tension that's going on is affecting energy prices everywhere in the world, because these people that are fighting themselves are major suppliers of energy. So it is not a Nigerian problem, it's a global problem. How do you then deal with things that you can't control? There is, you are not going to go, it's not two fighting that you're going to go in between them and say, oh, stop fighting and stuff like that. It's just a major global problem. You control those that you have control over. You have control over your expenses. You have control over your income. So what does that mean? Basically, in the short term, you want to cut on things I would call frivolous expenses, things that, less of entertainment, more of value-adding stuff. Things like transport, there is nothing you can do about it. You have to go to work. You have to go out. Things like essential food and groceries, you have to eat. You have to be alive. But you probably do not need to watch a TV series in the meantime. You probably do not need to, buy some extra drink for your minibar or for your fridge in the meantime. You probably do not need to go shopping and changing your wardrobe in the meantime. You make do of what you currently have to see how you can cut down on the expenses you are running. That's the one side of it. The other side of it is, how are you going to improve yourself to get additional income that would translate into value for you, right? So it's even more difficult for people in the West, because what can they do? Where can they go, right? But for those in the global South, like in Africa, what they can then do is to start seeking for freelance and part-time roles in the West, because those ones are looking for how to cut the cost of running business, right? So we have to be strategic in how we solve the problem in Africa. So if you are an African listening to this anywhere, any part of Africa, Start looking into Europe, start looking into the UK, start looking into the US. They are looking for ways to cut the cost of running business now. There's a lot of layoffs going off across the West, right? A £1 job in the UK will convert to somewhere between 2,000 and 2,500 naira in Nigeria. And if you do a £10 job, you do the maths. If you do a £100 job, you do the maths. For those in the West, well, they don't mind paying £10 for the job because it's not a lot of money for them. But for you, it converts to a lot of money for you. So start looking into other markets, start thinking global. The fuel and the global crisis may not be able to go away in the meantime, but in the meantime, you will be able to start looking out to be able to increase your income. So that's one way to manage it, or two ways to manage it. One, cutting down on what you're spending on frivolous stuff. Two, start looking outside and start attracting clients from Western climes where the conversion of such currencies will benefit you at home.
Wow. Yeah, I think this is a classic case of two elephants fighting. The grass is the one suffering. So I like that you said, no, looking at strategy, cutting down on frivolous things. You must not drink coffee every morning, so you can do away with some.
That is arguable.
All right. So
that is arguable. You can drink a more affordable coffee. That's my point.
Okay.
You don't have to buy the expensive brand. You can drink a more affordable coffee.
Okay. Now that this has taught you, you have not. Okay, it's all right. Adaku said, "Don't drink coffee." It's not.
That's Adaku. That's what Adaku said.
That's what Adaku
I said. You can drink That's what Adaku said, but you can drink an affordable one.
Okay.
That's what I said.
Okay. So thank you very much. I think we are coming to the end of today's session. Coffee is frivolous spending. Okay. It's not me that say it though. Before we go, so I would like our speakers in just one sentence. What does making digital finance work for you mean? So just in 1 minute. And once it's reached 60 seconds, I will cut you off. So in 1 minute.
Right. So what does it mean for me? It means financial efficiency. Like Adaku said, I want to know where my money went. I want to know where my money is coming from. So in one sentence, financial efficiency. That's what it means for me.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That's now brings into saying that what you don't know is bigger than you. And you can only conquer what you understand. All right. So, Mr. Adaku, what in one sentence, what does digital finance mean? What does digital finance mean to you? Like digital finance working, what does it mean for you?
Mr. Silas has stolen the word. I will try and reward what I was going to say. So, digital finance, what it means for me is it makes it easy to achieve my financial goals because I'm able to set a goal, and with digital finance, it is easier to hit those goals. See, I didn't mention financial efficiency because Mr. Silas has told me.
It's all right.
Well, sorry for stealing your thunder. It's okay.
So we still have about 6 minutes. So does anyone have any question he wants to ask? There's anything you want to learn, something that is burden that we want to share. Even if you have an experience you want to share, even the panel is open to all. In the next, if anyone has anything he wants to say. So while we are waiting for hands to run, I think Super Capital recently did a poll on Twitter where we were asking how many mobile apps do people have, and the 5+ apps they won. People that have more than 5 mobile apps in there. And I think Adaku commented that having more than 5 mobile apps is an evidence of confusion. I can't remember how she configured that word.
Well, that's arguable because It depends on where you are. It depends on, what you're doing with them and
Okay.
things like that. The average research has now shown that the average number of fintech apps, let me use it that way, on your phone is somewhere between 15 and 20. And that's because a lot of platforms now have fintech embedded in them. So what used to be is just payment transactions and bill payments. It's no longer like that. Everything now, from travel to hospitality to everything, have one form of fintech feature embedded on the app. So even though it is not technically downloaded or gotten initially as a fintech app, it tends to have that characteristics of a fintech app. And that's what Adaku was warning against earlier, because you keep just adding your card and your account to all of these things and forget. And then at the end of the month, you get some, or at the end of the day, you get some money and you don't remember where all of this money went. You then check your transaction record and be wondering, oh, I think I canceled that. Oh, I thought I removed myself from that. So because you just download, maybe use a travel app, for example. You've gone on the trip and you've come back, but you forgot to remove your card. And then they are running some form of promotion or what, and then they are removing money from your card. It has happened to me before. I had to stop it, call the company and get it reversed and things like that. So you have to be mindful that sometimes it's not primarily a fintech or a payment or whatever app. It could be other services that have some form of fintech embedded in them, and that's what's sucking your money up.
At this rate like this, me,
But
I can drag everybody. Sorry?
I beg to differ. I stand on it that if you have more than 3 mobile core financial services, I'm not talking embedded or finance as an added service on your mobile phone, it leads to confusion. Case in point is someone you have, unfortunately I cannot name competitors, but you have multiple similar products doing similar things. What you are doing is you are making all of those companies richer and you are running at a loss, because first and foremost, all of them have their different ways that they make money. And it is because you don't exactly know what you want to achieve. That's why you have 3 competitors that are doing the same thing. You're not buying say rice or pepper that you're trying to get the best price. You want to know what exactly works for you, what are your goals, and then you want to narrow down and choose the best option than having all the 1,000 apps.
Adaku, seriously, you will have done debating in secondary school. It fits you. You know how to counter. All right. I think this brings us to the end of today's webinar, and I think we'll be doing more of this more often, right? Where we just come and just have conversations around finance. I think it's more enlightening. People can share their experience and all whatnot. So thank you to everyone that has been with us this far. To our viewers who will be watching this video on YouTube, if you have any question, if you have any concern, all you just simply need to do is go to any of our social media platforms, drop your question, drop your experience, nothing is out of the box. You can share whatever you want to share, and then if it's a question, just tag us and we'll reach out to the speakers and they will pick it up from there. So thank you everyone for joining us, and have an amazing weekend. Thank you to our 2 panelists. See you guys all on the next one. Bye.
Thank you very much for having me.
Bye.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye.